It was the first Monday of the new school year, and the big cafeteria buzzed with loud voices, laughter, and the clatter of trays. Everyone seemed to know everyone, except for one boy sitting quietly at the corner table. His name was Derek Johnson, a transfer student who had just moved to town with his mother. Derek didn't talk much. He kept his head low, focused on his food, and avoided the noise around him. His skin was dark, his eyes deep and calm, and his hands were strong but gentle. Some kids noticed him and whispered, "Who's that new guy?" Others didn't care. But one thing was clear: Derek was different. When teachers asked him to introduce himself in class, he spoke softly but clearly. "Hi, my name is Derek. I came from Riverside. I like sports and reading." That was all. He smiled politely and sat down again. Many students thought he was shy. Some thought he was scared. But deep inside, Derek wasn't scared of anyone. He just didn't want trouble. His mother had always told him, "Stay calm, even when others are not. True strength is quiet." He remembered those words every day. At lunch, Derek always sat alone. He didn't mind it. He opened his small lunchbox and quietly ate rice and chicken his mom packed for him. Sometimes he listened to music through his old earphones. He liked peaceful moments like that, but the school wasn't always peaceful. In every crowd, there are people who enjoy making others feel small. And in this school, that person was Ryan Carter. Ryan was tall, blonde, and always surrounded by friends. He liked being the center of attention. He made jokes, played loud pranks, and thought of himself as the cool guy. The first time Ryan noticed Derek was in the cafeteria. He saw him eating quietly in the corner, not talking to anyone. Ryan smirked. "Look at that guy. He thinks he's too good for us," he whispered to his friend Matt. Matt laughed. "Yeah, he's just weird, always alone." Ryan nodded, already thinking of something to do. During the next few days, Derek followed the same routine: class, lunch alone, then home. After school, while other kids played video games or hung out, Derek went straight to his karate dojo. There he trained with his father, Mr. Johnson, a black belt and a former national champion. The dojo was simple, with wooden floors and the smell of sweat and discipline. His father's voice echoed, "Balance, Derek. Strength is not in your fists, it's in your heart." Derek bowed, focused, and practiced his kicks and punches until his body moved like water, smooth, fast, controlled. He didn't train to fight, he trained to control himself. But at school, nobody knew about that part of his life. To them, he was just the quiet kid who sat alone. One Friday, something happened that started everything. Derek was carrying his lunch tray when he accidentally bumped into Ryan's friend, Matt. Some juice spilled on Matt's shirt. "Watch where you're going, man," Matt shouted. Derek quickly said, "I'm sorry. It was an accident." But Ryan saw the whole thing. He smiled wickedly. "Hey, don't yell at him," Ryan said loudly. "He's new. Maybe he doesn't know how to walk yet." Everyone nearby laughed. Derek didn't respond. He just nodded and walked away. His calmness made Ryan angry. "Why didn't he say anything?" Ryan muttered. "He thinks he's better than me?" That weekend, Derek continued his training. He practiced harder than ever, his father watching proudly. But at school, Ryan was planning something cruel. He wanted to embarrass Derek in front of everyone. He didn't like that the quiet boy ignored his jokes. By Monday morning, Ryan's plan was ready. He told his friends to bring a raw egg from home. He said it would be a little lunchtime surprise. His friends laughed, thinking it was just another harmless prank. Meanwhile, Derek woke up early as usual. He helped his mom with breakfast, smiled, and packed his lunch. "Have a good day, sweetie," his mom said. He hugged her and left, not knowing what was waiting for him at school. In the hallway, people were already whispering about something funny that might happen during lunch. Derek didn't pay attention. He focused on his classes, taking notes and answering questions softly when teachers asked him. At lunch, he walked to his usual corner table and sat down. He opened his lunchbox and began eating quietly. Around the room, Ryan and his friends exchanged looks. Ryan's hand touched the egg hidden in his pocket. The cafeteria was full of noise. Trays clattering, laughter echoing, sneakers squeaking. But inside Derek's world, everything was calm. He was used to silence. He liked it. Yet just a few tables away, a storm was coming. As Derek took another bite of his food, Ryan stood up, pretending to grab some napkins. His friends followed him, whispering and giggling. No one knew what would happen next. Some students noticed Ryan's smirk and felt uneasy. Something didn't feel right, but Derek didn't notice. He looked peaceful, his mind far away, thinking about training that evening, about balance, about strength. Little did he know, in a few minutes his peace would break, and the whole school would see who he really was. Monday's lunch bell rang loud across the hallway. The sound of shoes, laughter, and shouting filled the cafeteria again. Students rushed in, hungry and noisy, but one person didn't seem excited about lunch. Derek Johnson. He quietly walked to his usual corner table, carrying his small lunchbox like always. He sat down, placed his food neatly, and began to eat. Around him, people talked, traded snacks, and threw fries across tables. But Derek stayed silent. He didn't know that today something bad was being planned just a few feet away. At another table sat Ryan Carter, the school's biggest troublemaker. He leaned back in his chair, his sneakers up on another seat, and smirked at his friends. His friend Matt whispered, "You really gonna do it?" Ryan grinned. "Of course. It's gonna be funny. Watch his face when I do it." In his hand, hidden under the table, was a raw egg wrapped in tissue. He had brought it from home that morning. His plan was simple: walk up behind Derek, crack the egg on his head, and make everyone laugh. Ryan's friends found it hilarious. "Bro, he won't even fight back," said Liam, one of the boys. "He's too soft," Ryan laughed. "Exactly. He's too quiet. I'll make him talk." On the other side of the cafeteria, Sophie, a kind girl who often saw Derek sitting alone, noticed Ryan and his group whispering and laughing. She didn't like how Ryan treated people. Something in her gut told her trouble was coming. She leaned toward her friend Maya and said, "I think Ryan's going to mess with that new boy again." Maya frowned. He should just leave him alone, but they both knew Ryan wouldn't stop. He loved attention too much. Ryan stood up slowly, adjusting his jacket. "All right, boys, showtime." His friends started recording on their phones, ready to catch the moment. Some nearby students noticed and began to whisper, "Ryan's about to do something." To who? The new guy. A few kids turned around to watch, curiosity growing. Derek, lost in his thoughts, didn't notice the whispers. He was thinking about his karate class that evening, how his sensei had told him to breathe through anger. He took slow bites of his lunch, calm and unaware of what was coming. Ryan walked across the cafeteria with fake confidence, pretending to laugh with his friends. The egg was hidden behind his back. His friends followed, trying not to burst into laughter. The cafeteria noise faded for a moment. People could sense something about to happen. Sophie's heart raced. She wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Ryan stood behind Derek. He grinned at his friends, lifted the egg high. Splat! The sound was loud enough to make the whole table turn. The egg cracked open on Derek's head, yellow yolk dripping down his hair and neck. The cafeteria went silent for a few seconds. Everyone stared. Ryan burst out laughing. "Oh man, look at him," he shouted. His friends laughed too, slapping the tables, their phones still recording. Derek froze. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just sat there, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Someone whispered, "Why isn't he doing anything?" Ryan leaned closer. "What's wrong, quiet boy?"
You mad?
Derek opened his eyes slowly. His calm stare made Ryan take a small step back. There was no anger in Derek's eyes, just focus. He stood up slowly, wiping the yolk from his forehead. The cafeteria stayed completely silent. Everyone waited for him to fight back. But Derek only said in a soft, steady voice, "You done?" Ryan blinked. "What?" I said. "Are you done?" The words were calm, but they hit harder than a punch. Derek picked up his tray, threw the eggshell in the trash, and walked to the bathroom without another word. Everyone started whispering. "Why didn't he fight back?"
He just walked away.
Ryan looks nervous. For the first time, Ryan didn't feel proud. His laughter sounded forced. Something about Derek's calmness made him uneasy. In the bathroom, Derek washed his hair in the sink. Cold water ran down his face. He looked at himself in the mirror. His reflection was quiet but strong. His father's voice echoed in his mind. "Control your heart before your hands." He breathed deeply. He wanted to be angry, but he remembered his training. He knew anger only gave power to others. Outside, Sophie followed him to the bathroom door and softly said, "Hey, are you okay?" Derek turned and gave a small smile. Yeah, it's just an egg, she frowned. You didn't deserve that. I know, he said quietly. But some people have to learn the hard way. Back in the cafeteria, Ryan's laughter had stopped. Some students were looking at him differently now. Man, that wasn't funny, one boy said. Ryan tried to act tough. Oh, come on, it's just a joke. But even his friends didn't laugh as hard anymore. Deep down, Ryan felt something strange, guilt. He didn't know it yet, but this small act would change everything. That night, while Ryan sat scrolling through his phone, he saw the video his friends posted online. In the clip, he was laughing like crazy, and Derek was just sitting there calm and quiet. The comments under the video shocked him. That's messed up. Why would you do that? The new kid handled it better than you. Ryan's smile faded. For the first time, he didn't feel powerful. He felt small. The next day, rumors spread across school. Everyone was talking about the egg incident, but the story wasn't about the bully anymore. It was about the boy who stayed calm when everyone expected him to explode, and what no one knew yet was that Derek's real strength had only begun to show. The next morning, the whole school was buzzing with gossip. Everyone was talking about the egg incident. Videos had spread fast. By the time Derek walked into school, whispers followed him everywhere. There he is, someone said softly. That's the boy Ryan messed with. He didn't even fight back. Derek heard them, but he didn't care. He kept walking calmly, his backpack over one shoulder, his eyes straight ahead. He had already washed away the egg, but not the memory. Inside, he felt a mix of shame and calm. He wasn't embarrassed about what happened. He was more disappointed, not in himself, but in how people treated each other for fun. At lunch that day, things felt different. Some students looked at Derek with pity, others with respect, and some just stared, waiting for drama to happen again. Ryan and his friends sat at their usual table, but this time the laughter wasn't the same. His phone kept buzzing with messages about the video. Even people from other schools had commented on it. Yo, man, said Matt. People are saying you look bad in that video. Ryan frowned. They don't get it. It was a joke. Yeah, but everyone's calling you a jerk, Liam added quietly. Ryan slammed his soda can on the table. I don't care what they say. He made me look stupid just sitting there like a statue. Matt sighed. You made yourself look stupid. That sentence hit Ryan hard. He didn't reply. Meanwhile, Derek sat alone again. But this time Sophie came and sat across from him. She smiled softly. Mind if I sit here? Derek shook his head. No, it's fine. She opened her lunch and said, People are talking about what happened yesterday. You know, you handled it really well. Derek looked up, surprised. You think so? Yes, she said firmly. Most people would have fought back. But you stayed calm. That takes strength. Derek smiled a little. My dad says fighting isn't always about hitting. Sophie nodded. He sounds wise. Derek laughed quietly. He's a karate teacher. Her eyes widened. Wait, you do karate? He nodded, eating another bite of his food. Since I was 6. Sophie blinked in surprise. So you could have beaten Ryan up if you wanted to? Derek shrugged. Maybe, but that wouldn't fix anything. At another table, Ryan watched them talking. He clenched his jaw. Seeing Derek smiling again made him angry. In his mind, the story wasn't over. He wanted to prove he was still in control. He leaned toward his friends. I'm going to talk to him, he said. Matt sighed. Don't, man. Just drop it, but Ryan ignored him. He stood up and walked toward Derek's table, the entire cafeteria watching quietly. Sophie noticed first. He's coming, she whispered. Derek didn't turn around. He knew Ryan's footsteps. He stayed calm, breathing slowly. Ryan stopped right behind him. Hey, new boy, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. You think you're some kind of hero now? Derek turned his head slightly. No, I just eat my lunch. Laughter broke out from a few tables. Ryan's face turned red. You trying to be funny? Derek shook his head. No, I just don't see a reason to fight. Ryan's fists tightened. You embarrassed me, man. Everyone's talking about me because of you. Derek looked up at him, his eyes calm and steady. You embarrassed yourself. The room went silent again. Those words hit like a punch. Ryan stepped closer, his face full of anger. Say that again. Derek didn't move. You embarrassed yourself. Ryan's hand shot out and pushed Derek's shoulder hard. The tray fell, spilling food across the table. Sophie gasped and stood up. "Stop it, Ryan," she shouted. But Ryan didn't stop. He raised his hand as if he might hit Derek. Before anyone could react, Derek stood up slowly. His voice was calm but firm. "Don't do that," Ryan froze. Something about Derek's tone, soft but powerful, made him hesitate. Derek's eyes were locked on his, steady and strong. Around them, students held their breath. The gym teacher, Mr. Lewis, rushed in. "What's going on here?" he barked. Ryan quickly stepped back. "Nothing, sir. We were just talking." Mr. Lewis looked at Derek. "You okay?" Derek nodded. "Yes, sir. I'm fine." The teacher frowned at Ryan. "See me after lunch?" Ryan mumbled, "Yes, sir," and walked back to his table, his face pale. After the teacher left, the cafeteria slowly came back to life, but the energy had changed. Students whispered to each other, "Did you see that?" He didn't even flinch. Ryan looked scared. Sophie sat down again, still shaken. "You didn't even move," she said softly. Derek smiled faintly. "I didn't need to." Later that evening, Derek went to his karate dojo. The wooden floor smelled like polish and discipline. His father stood at the front, arms crossed. "Rough day?" he asked. Derek nodded. "Someone tried to pick a fight again." His father smiled gently. "And what did you do?" "I stayed calm. That's my boy," his father said proudly. "You see, real strength isn't about hitting first. It's about knowing when not to." Derek bowed. "Yes, sir." He began his training, kicks, punches, forms, each movement sharp but controlled. As he moved, the day's tension faded away. Back in his room later that night, Derek looked out the window at the quiet street. He thought about Ryan. He didn't hate him. He just hoped one day Ryan would understand what strength really meant. Somewhere across town, Ryan sat on his bed watching the same video again. This time he didn't laugh. He just stared at Derek's calm face in the clip, the face of someone stronger without even trying. And for the first time, Ryan started to feel something he'd never felt before. Respect. The sun shone softly over the school courtyard the next morning. Birds were chirping, but inside the building the air felt heavy. Something had changed since the egg incident. Students still talked about it, but the laughter was gone. Now people spoke with low voices, almost afraid to say too much. Derek Johnson, the quiet new boy, had somehow become the center of attention without trying. Wherever he went, eyes followed him. Some students looked at him with respect, others with guilt, and a few with fear. But Derek stayed the same, calm, polite, and focused. He walked through the hallway carrying his books, his expression peaceful. Inside, he had already let go of what happened, but the world around him hadn't. At his locker, a few kids whispered nearby, "Hey, that's him. He's the one who didn't fight back. Ryan doesn't mess with him anymore." Derek closed his locker gently and walked away, pretending not to hear. He didn't want attention. He just wanted peace. When he reached his classroom, Sophie waved at him with a smile. "Morning, Derek," she said. "Morning," he replied. She leaned closer and whispered, "You okay?" He nodded. "Yeah, I'm fine." But Sophie could tell he was thinking deeply. "You know," she said softly, "you don't have to act strong all the time." Derek smiled faintly. "It's not acting. It's just knowing when to stay quiet." Sophie looked at him curiously. "Your dad taught you that?" Derek nodded. "He says silence can be louder than words." Across the classroom, Ryan Carter sat slouched in his chair. He hadn't slept well for days. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the moment the egg cracked on Derek's head, and how calm Derek had been. That calm haunted him. His friends tried to cheer him up. "Forget it, man," Matt said. "It's old news." But Ryan shook his head. "It's not. Everyone still looks at me like I'm the bad guy," Liam muttered. "Well, you kind of were." Ryan didn't respond. He stared out the window, lost in thought. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about how to look cool. He was thinking about how to fix what he broke. At lunch, the cafeteria was quieter than usual. No one wanted another scene. Derek sat at his usual table and Sophie joined him again. Ryan walked in, holding his tray, and saw them talking. His stomach twisted. He wanted to say something, maybe even apologize, but fear held him back. Matt noticed his hesitation. "If you want to talk to him, do it," he said. Don't just stare. Ryan frowned. He probably hates me. Matt shrugged. You'll never know unless you ask. Meanwhile, Derek was telling Sophie about his karate training. It's not just fighting, he said. It's about respect. You bow to your teacher, to your opponent, even to the floor. It reminds you to stay humble. Sophie smiled. That's beautiful, he nodded. When I'm training, it's like everything else disappears. No noise, no fear, no anger. Just focus. Sophie looked impressed. You should show the class someday. Maybe people would see who you really are. Derek shook his head gently. I don't need to show anyone. I just need to be myself. Later that afternoon, the principal made an announcement over the intercom. Attention students, next week is our annual sports day. This year we'll include a martial arts demonstration by the local dojo. The class buzzed with excitement. Sophie's eyes lit up. Derek, that's your dojo, right? Derek nodded slowly. Yeah, that's mine. Ryan's head snapped up when he heard that. He turned toward Derek with surprise. Wait, you're doing karate at the event? Derek looked at him calmly. Maybe if my instructor chooses me. Ryan stared for a moment, then looked away, feeling something strange, respect mixed with regret. That evening, Derek returned home and changed into his white karate uniform. The dojo was quiet and peaceful, the air smelling of wooden floors and incense. His father, Mr. Johnson, stood at the front, arms crossed. You were calm today? His father asked. Derek nodded. Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson smiled. Good. Remember, a storm can't hurt a mountain that stands still. Derek bowed. I understand. They began training, slow movements first, then faster. Each strike, each block, each breath was measured and controlled. Derek's face showed no anger, only focus. After practice, his father said, Next week's demonstration is important. Show them not just your skill, but your heart. Yes, sir, Derek said with determination. At the same time, across town, Ryan sat alone in his room. His phone buzzed with another notification. Someone had posted a meme using his video. The egg bully, it said under his face. Ryan groaned and threw his phone aside. He stared at the ceiling, feeling the weight of his own choices. He remembered Derek's calm voice. You embarrassed yourself. It replayed again and again in his head. Finally, Ryan sat up and whispered to himself, I have to fix this. He didn't know how, but deep down, he knew he had to make things right. The next morning, Ryan saw Derek walking to class and decided to try. He jogged up beside him nervously. Hey, Ryan said quietly. Derek looked over, calm as always. Hey, Ryan scratched the back of his neck. Listen, about what happened. I was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. I don't know why I did, I just wanted to look cool. Derek nodded slowly. It takes courage to say sorry. Ryan blinked, surprised. So, you're not mad? Derek smiled faintly. I was never mad. I just hoped you'd learn something. Ryan stood there in silence, not knowing what to say next. Derek turned to walk away, but added softly, See you at the demonstration. Ryan frowned. Wait, you're performing? Derek gave a small nod. Yeah, you should come watch. As Derek walked away, Ryan stood frozen in the hallway. For the first time in his life, he felt small, but also inspired. He realized that true power didn't come from fear or laughter. It came from calm, respect, and control. And next week, when Derek would step onto that stage in his white uniform, Ryan knew he would see that power with his own eyes. The week passed quickly, and the air around the school buzzed with excitement. It was finally sports day, the day everyone looked forward to. The sun was bright, banners hung on the fences, and the playground was full of parents, students, and teachers. There were races, games, and laughter everywhere. But this year something new was on the list, a karate demonstration by the local dojo. Most students had never seen real martial arts before, and everyone was curious. Among the crowd stood Ryan Carter, his hands in his pockets trying to blend in. He didn't plan to come at first, but something in him wanted to see Derek again, to understand him. He found a spot near the front where he could see the small stage clearly. His friends Matt and Liam joined him, still whispering. Bro, are you sure this is a good idea? Matt asked. Ryan nodded slowly. I just want to see what he does. A few minutes later, the loudspeaker crackled. Next, please welcome the Riverside Karate Dojo. The crowd clapped politely. A group of students dressed in white uniforms stepped onto the mat. They bowed together, hands by their sides. Standing among them, calm and focused, was Derek Johnson. Gasps spread through the crowd. That's the new kid. The one from the video. Ryan felt his heart thump. Derek looked completely different. His face was calm, his movements controlled. The shy boy from the cafeteria was gone. This was someone confident, someone strong. The dojo instructor, Mr. Johnson, stepped forward. "Good morning, everyone," he said proudly. "We're here to show what karate truly means. It's not about fighting others, it's about mastering yourself." He looked at his students. "Begin." The team moved in perfect rhythm. They punched and kicked in silence, their shouts, "Kiai!" echoing across the field. Every move was clean, powerful, and full of focus. Parents clapped and cheered. Kids whispered in awe. Ryan stood still, unable to look away. Each time Derek moved, it looked effortless, strong but peaceful. His eyes stayed focused, his breathing steady. Then Mr. Johnson called out, "Derek, step forward." Derek bowed and walked to the center. A few boards were placed in front of him. The crowd quieted. "Show them the meaning of focus," his father said. Derek took a deep breath. He stood still for a moment, eyes closed. Then crack! His hand sliced through the board cleanly. The sound echoed. The crowd gasped, then clapped loudly. Ryan blinked in disbelief. He whispered, "That's the same guy I threw an egg at." Matt nodded. "He could have broken you like that board." Ryan didn't laugh. He couldn't. He felt something heavy inside, shame and respect all at once. After the performance, Mr. Johnson stepped forward again. "This is what karate teaches: control, discipline, and respect. Strength is never about hurting others. It's about knowing you can, but choosing not to." His eyes scanned the crowd and briefly stopped on Ryan. Ryan swallowed hard. He knew the words weren't meant to hurt him, but they hit deep. As the team bowed, the crowd erupted in applause. Derek smiled slightly, bowing with his group. But his eyes found Ryan for a moment. It wasn't anger in his look, it was kindness. And that made Ryan feel even smaller. After the event ended, students gathered around Derek, congratulating him. Even teachers smiled proudly. Sophie ran up, beaming. "That was amazing, Derek. You looked like a real champion." Derek laughed softly. "Thanks. I just did what I always do." Ryan stood a few meters away, nervous but determined. He took a deep breath and walked up. Derek noticed him and gave a calm smile. "Hey," Ryan scratched his neck awkwardly. "Hey, you were really good out there." "Thanks," Derek said gently. Ryan hesitated. His voice dropped low. "Listen, I mean it. You're different, man. You didn't have to forgive me, but you did. I don't know why." Derek looked thoughtful. "Because everyone deserves a chance to change." Ryan nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess I needed that." Sophie, standing nearby, smiled softly. She saw something change in Ryan's face, something honest for the first time. Later that afternoon, Derek sat on a bench under a tree, still in his karate uniform. The wind was cool, and the cheers from earlier still echoed faintly in the distance. Ryan walked over again, carrying 2 bottles of water. He held one out. "Here, you probably need this." Derek accepted it with a grateful nod. "Thanks." They sat quietly for a while. Finally, Ryan said, "You know, I used to think being strong meant making people laugh, making fun of others. But now I see, it's just noise. You were strong even when everyone laughed at you." Derek smiled. "My dad says true strength is quiet. You can hear it when everyone else goes silent." Ryan chuckled softly. "Guess that's true." They sat in silence again. Birds flew overhead, and for the first time there was no tension between them, just understanding. When Derek got home that evening, his father greeted him with pride. "You did well today, son," Derek bowed. "Thank you, sir," his father smiled. "Did you learn anything new?" Derek nodded. "Yes, sometimes you can teach a person without saying a word." Mr. Johnson's eyes softened. "Good. That's the greatest lesson." Meanwhile, Ryan sat in his room, the same video of the egg incident still saved on his phone. He stared at it for a long time, then deleted it. He didn't want to remember that version of himself anymore. Instead, he searched online for something new. Beginner karate classes near me. He smiled to himself and whispered, "Maybe it's time I learn what real strength means." That night, both boys went to sleep with lighter hearts, one proud of what he stood for, and the other ready to change who he was. The storm between them had finally ended, but the lesson it left behind would last forever. The morning after the sports day, Ryan Carter woke up earlier than usual. For once, he didn't scroll through his phone or rush to meet his friends. He just sat at the edge of his bed thinking. The sound of Derek breaking that wooden board still echoed in his mind. That moment had changed something inside him. He looked at his hands, the same hands that had once cracked an egg on someone's head for fun, and now they felt heavy. He whispered to himself, I was such an idiot. At school, things were different. Students were still talking about the karate show, but this time they weren't laughing or gossiping. They were inspired. I didn't know Derek could do that. He's amazing. He didn't even show off. Ryan heard them all, and instead of jealousy, he felt admiration. When Derek entered the cafeteria, the same place where everything had started, people actually smiled at him. Some even clapped quietly. Derek just nodded politely, as humble as always. Ryan watched from across the room. He didn't know what to do. He wanted to talk to Derek, but he didn't want to make it awkward again. Then he noticed Sophie wave at Derek and laugh at something he said. For a moment, Ryan smiled too. It was strange. He wasn't angry. He was proud. After school, Ryan walked home alone. Usually his friends would walk with him, joking around. But lately they had started to drift away. Matt was busy studying. Liam joined the basketball team. And Ryan didn't know who he was anymore. When he passed a local dojo, his steps slowed. Through the glass window, he saw kids practicing karate, bowing, punching, shouting with energy. For a moment he imagined himself inside, wearing a white uniform like Derek. He shook his head. Nah, they'd laugh at me, he muttered. But something deep inside whispered, or maybe they'd respect you. That night Ryan couldn't sleep. He thought about Derek's calm voice, the way he had said, everyone deserves a chance to change. The words wouldn't leave his head. The next day, Ryan made a decision. During lunch, he walked straight to Derek's table. The cafeteria grew quiet again. Everyone remembered what happened last time Ryan had approached him here. Derek looked up, his expression calm as always. Hey, he said. Ryan cleared his throat. Can I sit? Derek nodded. Sure. Ryan sat down, feeling the eyes of 100 students on him. He took a deep breath. I wanted to say something again. I know I already said sorry, but it didn't feel like enough. Derek listened silently. Ryan continued, his voice low. You didn't just forgive me. You showed me what real strength looks like. You didn't fight back. You didn't make fun of me. You made me look at myself. Sophie, who sat nearby, smiled softly. Ryan went on. I used to think being the loudest made me strong, but now I know it just made me scared. I didn't want people to see the real me, so I hid behind jokes and bullying. Derek nodded. Most bullies aren't strong. They're just lost. Ryan looked down. Yeah, I was lost. The cafeteria stayed quiet. Some students looked shocked, others touched. It wasn't often they saw Ryan, the same boy who ruled the hallways, speaking so honestly. Finally, Derek said, What matters is you're not the same now. Ryan looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. You really think that? I know that, Derek replied with a calm smile. You showed up. That's the first step. Ryan smiled weakly. You know, I've been thinking about joining your dojo. You think your dad would take me? Derek grinned. He takes anyone who's serious about learning. Ryan chuckled nervously. I'm serious. Then he'll teach you, Derek said. That weekend, Ryan did something no one expected. He actually went to the dojo. The smell of the wooden floor, the quiet discipline, and the focused faces of students made him nervous. He stood at the entrance until Mr. Johnson noticed him. Can I help you, young man? Mr. Johnson asked kindly. Ryan bowed awkwardly. My name's Ryan Carter. I was hoping to learn. Mr. Johnson smiled, already recognizing the name. Derek told me about you. Ryan's face turned red. Yeah, probably not in a good way. Mr. Johnson chuckled. He said you're trying to change. That's a good start, Ryan bowed again. Yes, sir. Come in then, said Mr. Johnson. Let's begin. The first week wasn't easy. Ryan's kicks were clumsy, his punches weak, and his balance terrible. But he didn't quit. Every time he stumbled, he remembered Derek's calm face in the cafeteria. the face of control and peace. One day during practice, Derek joined the same class. Ryan froze for a second, but then smiled. "Didn't expect to see me here, huh?" he joked. Derek smirked. "Didn't expect you to last this long." They both laughed, and for the first time it felt natural, like real friends. Months passed, and Ryan kept training. Slowly, he learned not just the moves, but the meaning behind them. The respect, the control, the discipline. He even started helping younger kids in the dojo. When they made mistakes, he encouraged them instead of mocking them. Mr. Johnson noticed and smiled often. One day after class, Derek and Ryan were putting away their gear. Ryan looked at Derek and said, "You know, I used to think you were weak." Derek raised an eyebrow. "Oh, really?" Ryan laughed. "Yeah, but now I know. You were the strongest person in that whole cafeteria. You just didn't need to prove it." Derek smiled. "I'm glad you see it now." Ryan nodded. "Yeah, I see it." That night, as Ryan walked home from the dojo, the air felt lighter. The same streets that once echoed with his laughter now felt peaceful. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thanks, Derek, for teaching me what strength really is." For the first time, the boy who once caused pain felt what it was like to find peace. Spring arrived early that year. The air was warmer, the trees bloomed with green leaves, and everything at school felt lighter, almost peaceful. The tension that once filled the halls had faded. Laughter still echoed, but it was different now, more friendly, less cruel. And among those laughing voices were Derek Johnson and Ryan Carter, two boys who had once been enemies but were now learning what true friendship really meant. Ryan had changed. Everyone could see it. He didn't push people around anymore or make jokes at anyone's expense. When new students arrived, he was the first to greet them. When someone dropped their books, he helped pick them up. Some students were confused at first. "Is that really Ryan? The same guy who used to bully people?" "Yeah, but he's different now." And he was. The old Ryan used to crave attention. The new Ryan sought respect. It didn't happen overnight. It took time, effort, and humility. Every afternoon after school, he still trained at Mr. Johnson's dojo, learning more than just kicks and punches. He learned about patience, control, and forgiveness. Mr. Johnson often told him, "Discipline builds character. It's not your muscles that make you strong, it's your heart." Ryan took those words seriously. One Friday afternoon, as class ended, Ryan stayed behind to clean the dojo floor. Derek helped him sweep while music played softly in the background. Ryan smiled. "You know, a few months ago I never thought I'd be doing this." Derek chuckled. "What, cleaning floors?" Ryan laughed. "No, learning karate with the guy I used to pick on." Derek grinned. "Life's funny like that," Ryan nodded. "You know something, Derek? You didn't just teach me karate. You taught me how to respect myself and others." Derek looked at him seriously. "I didn't teach you. You just decided to listen." Ryan smiled quietly. "Maybe, but you made me want to." Back at school, word spread quickly that Ryan had joined the dojo. Some students teased him at first, but he didn't care. During gym class, when a smaller student tripped and fell, Ryan helped him up and said, "You're good, man. Don't worry." That small act surprised everyone. The boy smiled, and others began to see that the old bully was truly gone. Even the teachers noticed. Mr. Lewis, the gym teacher, pulled Ryan aside one day. "You've grown a lot, Carter. I'm proud of you." Ryan smiled shyly. "Thanks, sir. I'm just trying to do better." A few weeks later, the school held an assembly to honor students who had shown positive change in leadership. When the principal called Ryan's name, the entire hall clapped. Ryan froze in surprise. "Ryan Carter," the principal announced, "for showing growth, responsibility, and kindness. You've turned mistakes into lessons, and that's something worth celebrating." Ryan walked onto the stage, nervous but smiling. He looked out at the crowd. Sophie waved. Derek gave a thumbs up. Ryan took the microphone and said softly, "I used to think strength meant making people fear me. But I learned something. Real strength means having the courage to be kind even when no one's watching." The students clapped louder this time. Even some teachers had tears in their eyes. When Ryan stepped off the stage, Derek patted him on the shoulder. "Not bad, champ," Ryan grinned. "I learned from the best." That evening after the assembly, Ryan and Derek walked home together. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink. They stopped at the park near the school. the same park where Ryan used to hang out with his old friends laughing about his pranks. Now, it was quiet, peaceful. Ryan looked at the swings and said, "It's weird. Everything feels different now. The same places, but not the same me." Derek smiled. "That's what change looks like." Ryan nodded slowly. "You ever wonder why I picked you that day?" Derek shrugged. "Maybe because I was quiet," Ryan sighed. "No, it's because you were everything I wasn't. Calm, strong, in control." "I guess I was jealous." Derek smiled kindly. "And now?" Ryan looked at him. "Now I want to be like that for real." They both laughed, and Derek said, "You already are." Weeks passed, and Ryan continued training. One evening at the dojo, Mr. Johnson gathered all the students. "Today," he said, "we award a new belt to one who has shown not just skill but heart." He called Ryan forward. Ryan froze. "Me?" Mr. Johnson nodded with pride. "You've earned this." He tied a green belt around Ryan's waist. The room clapped loudly. Derek smiled the widest. Ryan bowed deeply. "Thank you, sir. I'll keep earning it," Mr. Johnson said warmly. "You already have." Later that night, Ryan and Derek walked home together under the streetlights. The air was cool and the stars shone bright above them. Ryan said softly, "It's funny. One egg changed everything," Derek laughed. "Yeah, who knew?" Ryan smiled. "If I could go back, I'd take it all back." Derek shook his head. "Don't. If it didn't happen, maybe neither of us would have learned what we did." Ryan